Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back. Consecrated podcast episode. We don't know, but it is the last episode of
Season one. We have made it to the season finale of
season finale.
Season
And
one.
how did we decide this one was going to be the last episode?
I'll tell you. Don't you worry. Production will tell them
Okay.
why we've made
Go
this
ahead,
the last
production.
episode.
Tell
We've
them.
made this the last episode because we are switching our release day from Fridays to Mondays.
Why are we switching it to Mondays? I don't know, but we're doing it.
The most consistent theme in our podcast is that we are learning as we go.
We're learning as we go.
Yeah.
Hopefully Mondays works with your guys' schedule.
And we'll see if, we'll learn.
We'll learn.
If it's a good change or not.
Yeah.
But just another reason, just another thing to make Monday sweeter,
Yeah. Just try it.
Yeah. So we're just going to try
We're
it.
just gonna try it.
Growing up, we used to love the movie Spanglish. Did you watch that with us ever?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And there's a scene where
Adam
she's like,
Sandler,
just try it on. Just try it.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're doing. We're just trying it. We're just winging
trying it
it.
on.
Switching to Mondays. And I thought it'd be really cool, just because I love birthdays, that the first day that we post on Monday is on Fetty's 30th birthday.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. New season.
Season 2
New year.
launching.
New decade.
Yup.
New.
You said it all. There's nothing else to do.
Yeah. That's pretty good. That's
Season
a lot of
2
news.
starts coming out September 29th,
September 29th.
2025 on Fetty's 30th birthday. I just thought that was cool, we've been talking about switching to Mondays for so long, and then what are the odds, how fitting, we've been recording for 6 months and
Yeah.
started on Justin Bieber's birthday, restarting our new season.
Season 1.
Started on Justin Bieber's birthday. Season 2 starting on Fetty Govena's birthday.
What that means, me and Justin Bieber need to be friends.
What? Have you listened to his new album? He has a new album. No, you don't like new J Beebs.
No, I don't know. I have not listened to it.
My Bieber fever has not died, unfortunately.
Oh, that's so.
And it's not as intense as when I was younger. Do you remember how intensely I had Bieber fever?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. It's not as intense as it was.
Yeah, that's good.
But I will ride or die J Beebs. Always.
Yeah. I think J. Beebs is also 30.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you guys really should be friends.
Yeah, we gotta be friends.
You're the same age.
Yeah.
You should be friends with all the 30-year-olds in the United States.
But especially Justin Bieber.
What is one thing that you're so... Maybe I should save this for the episode that comes out on your birthday, but whatever. We're going there. What is one thing that you're so excited for about turning 30? Or expected for?
I do feel like I am squarely out of the young adult category once you hit 30.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, I don't know. Late 20s, you're kind of like, yeah, I'm still kind of there. Like,
Yeah.
I'm still a little bit of a young adult.
Yeah.
I feel like once you hit 30, it's like, yeah, no, you're just an adult, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you're just a grown man.
Yeah.
That's it. From there, like, it's just the adulthood.
Right.
And then you're a senior.
And
So,
then you're retiring.
and then you're a retired senior. So
Yeah.
I was actually just thinking about this the other day because I was thinking about how we had recently celebrated a friend of ours' graduation.
Mm-hmm.
And then and then I was thinking about some of our other friends, and I was like, we haven't really celebrated other people the same way. It's like all of the massive life events of graduation, and I don't know what else. It's I feel like there's a lot that happens in your late teens and then your early 20s.
Yeah.
And then you get to your mid and late 20s, and then I imagine maybe into the 30s, and it's just I'm just chilling.
Yeah. I feel like past 24.
Yeah.
Unless you go get your master's or something.
Yeah.
But, there's definitely more celebration from 18 to
Yeah.
24.
But I do feel like I remember asking a friend of mine a few years back. She's a couple years older than me, and I was asking her about what it's like being 30 because she had just crossed over the threshold of the threes into the 3 zeros.
Yeah.
And she said something about how there's a certain sense of settlement, like you feel more settled
I've also heard that.
in yourself.
Yeah.
And I think I've been feeling that as I've been getting closer to 30.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think I'm just gonna wake up on the 29th of September and be like, yeah, for sure, I'm like super settled. You know?
Yeah,
I like already am feeling that.
Yeah.
And so it's like the embodiment of the person that you're becoming is a little bit more solidified.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know, that to me, that's exciting.
Yeah.
And then from here, it's like the things that you celebrate, the milestones that you celebrate kind of feel like it's because you choose to celebrate them, you know? And so, yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to inhabit the space of just full adulthood and just cut my grass. What else do adults do? You know, I'm excited to like
Cut my grass is crazy
you
work.
know what I'm saying? Just like do things that adults do.
Yeah.
You feel me? So
I mean, you've already been, but
yeah.
you're already in the like headspace.
Yeah, and then also there are certain areas of my life where I feel like I'm taken more serious. I think I will be taken more seriously because I heard there's a 3 on my age now. You know?
Yeah.
Versus like before, like when I would start to, people would ask me, how old are you? And I start with a 2, like 20 something. And especially with older people, I don't know. I feel it's like sometimes it can be easier to be like, who's this little dude?
Yeah.
Like here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like it makes me feel like,
You're a man now.
Yeah, you gotta respect the 3 at least.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
3 decades of doing this.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So.
You know, when you grow up with someone, like you always kind of have a mental age of them in your head.
What's mine?
Your mental age is you're always 18.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know why.
Interesting.
Which makes me always, 14?
Yeah.
I don't know why, but in my head, I'm like, yeah, my older brother's like 18. Moti, our little brother's always 6.
Yeah.
He's always little. But it's so weird to think, like, you've been on this earth for 3 decades.
I know, bro.
Wow.
That's crazy.
We could take a deep dive on this.
I'd like to not.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's pivot when we can, because we could nosedive into the reflection of Fetty being 30.
That could be a whole thing.
Yeah.
But we will save that.
We will.
For another time.
Anyway, season finale, last episode coming out on Fridays is this one. Mm-hmm. Starting September 29th, your 30th birthday, season 2. Let's get it.
I'm an old man.
You are an old
so we're going to Mondays.
You are an old man. Yeah. But at least you're embracing it, you know?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'm not a young adult no more.
Yeah.
Starting the month from...
That's crazy. You can't, like, go to young adult groups anymore or anything.
No.
Not that you really did.
I mean, I don't really mess with them anymore anyways.
Yeah.
But I'm no longer a young adult. Yeah. Can the young adults please stand up? I'll just be sitting.
Not you. You're just sitting.
Do they ever say adults? Can the adults stand up?
No, I feel like adults don't get that much acknowledgement.
See?
It's like child.
Celebrate. Yeah. Youth, young generation.
Yeah. Young adult. Like, not even mentioned. It's like, kid, teen, young adult, elders.
Yeah.
Like, adult is lowercase. All the rest are all caps.
Bro.
But it's okay.
You know what? It's all good.
Yeah.
Backbone of society. We just
keep
carrying.
Grinding. Literally.
We just grind in the background.
Hurting.
Nobody knows. It's all good. You feel me? We'll keep doing it. Yeah.
With no recognition.
It's all good.
Okay. Anyway, hard pivot.
What are we talking about today?
Pivot. You know, it's a short little reminder that I felt the Lord put on my heart, and I don't feel like it'll take very long, but we're yappers. Hence this intro. So we'll see how long this episode ends up being. But I felt to talk about more like kind of a reminder to remind people in their souls who we're walking with. A reminder to look up, and a reminder who you're walking with. And like a little background of how I got here is I was... You good?
I got my hair stuck on the thing. Anyway.
Keep going. A little context of how I got here is I was spending time with the Lord, and it's hard for me sometimes to try to put like words behind encounters that I have. Like what
facts
it is that happened, because there's so many layers of like imagination and emotion and stuff that go into it. But basically, I went into my time that I was spending with the Lord feeling a lot of emotion, feeling overwhelmed, feeling, I don't even remember what I was feeling that got me into the encounter with the Lord, but I remember coming into the interaction feeling a lot of emotion. And I had this moment with the Lord where, as I was talking to him and as I was venting, it was like his presence took up the entire sky. I don't know how to explain other than it felt like, yeah, his presence took up the entire sky. And I was made aware of how big he is and how grand he is and how sovereign he is. And then within a snap of a second, it's like he took his entire presence and his being and he became a man and he was standing right next to me. And the closest image I can compare it to is there's a scene in Percy Jackson. Have you seen Percy Jackson? The first one?
The first one, maybe.
Yeah, I love sci-fi movies, but there's a scene in Percy Jackson where basically his dad is like Poseidon or whatever. Anyway, he's like this really big like Greek demigod.
Yeah.
And he's talking to his dad, but he's not like fully there. He's like talking to the water or something. I don't remember it specifically, but there's a scene where he comes out, he's like a big ocean and he like comes out of water and then he becomes small and becomes this little man and he's face to face with him. That's like the closest visual that I can give to what this encounter was like, where I felt the Lord taking up the entirety of the sky and being really big.
Yeah.
And then as I'm venting and processing, he shrinks and becomes smaller and becomes a man standing in my room face to face with me. And
do you still feel like the glory in the same way with the man that you did with the vast expanse?
Wait, let me finish. Wait. Okay, yeah, wait. Okay. So he's big and if anything, it wasn't, the glory didn't hit till after. So he's big, he's taking up the expanse of the sky. Okay. He makes himself small and he's standing in front of me. Okay. And then it's like everything in me gets quiet and I feel this firm voice say, remember who's walking with you. And then he makes himself big again and takes up the whole sky. And I'm just hit with this realization of the sovereignty of God and how big he is, right? Takes up the whole sky, has the whole world in his hands, is this big, almighty God, but also a man that walks with me, who's with me at all times. And that reminder was a reminder of he is a big, grand, sovereign Lord. But he walks with me. He is with me. Like, remember who you're walking with. And it was with a conviction in his tone of, I was caught up in, small things in my life. Yeah. And then there was this like deep conviction in his voice of, remember who's walking with you. Remember who's, and then he makes himself big again. And then I thought of the scripture, lift your eyes. So I'm just basically this episode, I felt to share the rabbit hole that me and the Lord went on in this encounter.
Love it.
So
take us.
Let's go to Psalm 121.
Beautiful.
Back to David. What a man. Actually, we don't know if David wrote Psalm 121. It doesn't say he wrote this one, so.
Okay.
Psalm 121. So, I have this encounter, the Lord tells me, remember who you're walking with. Then I lift my eyes, so then I went to this. I'm going to read the whole psalm really quick. It says, I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord watches over you. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. So, Psalm 121 is part of a collection in the Psalms called the Psalm of Ascents, right? The Psalm of Ascents are basically the Israelites at the time, whenever they would go up to Jerusalem, which was on a mountain, they would recite these psalms. That's why they were called the Psalms of Ascent. They would sing these psalms as a reminder, reminding their hearts. Whenever they'd go to Jerusalem, they'd go for like festivals or whenever they'd need to gather in the temple, which was in Jerusalem, they'd literally have to ascend physically. And as they were ascending...
It's on a hill.
Yeah, because it's on a hill. As they were ascending, they would sing these psalms and
Okay.
remind themselves of the Lord and who they were going to sing. The rabbit trail that the Lord led me down was that the hill that they were ascending, even in itself, was a reminder of who they were walking with. Let me tell you why. We're going to go back to Genesis, back to our man Abraham. Okay?
Abe.
We're going to go to Genesis 22.
Gen 2.
Genesis 22.
Okay.
And then I'm going to read just the first two verses. It says, "Sometime later, God tested Abraham. He said to Abraham, 'Abraham.' 'Here I am,' he replied. Then God said, 'Take your son, your only son, whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you.'" What I wanted to point out here is Moriah. The region of Moriah is a really important place. But the first event that takes place there is God tells Abraham, "Bring Isaac there and sacrifice your son there." And
Yeah.
as we know, Abraham, we talked about sacrifice recently, he decides to do it and sacrifice his son. And before he does, the Lord shows up as provider and provides a ram. First event that takes place in the land of Moriah. Not the last event that takes place in the land of Moriah. The next place that we are going to go is 2 Samuel chapter 24.
2 Sam.
2 Sam 24,
2
verse
Sam,
18.
2
18 to 25.
Okay.
I'm going to start reading. On that day, Gad went to David and said to him, "Go up and build an altar to the Lord on the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite." So David went up as Lord had commanded through Gad. When Araunah looked and saw the king and his officials coming toward him, he went out and bowed down before the king with his face to the ground. Araunah said, "Why has my lord the king come to his servant?" "To buy your threshing floor," David answered, "so I can build an altar to the Lord, that the plague on the people may be stopped." Araunah said to David, "Let my lord the king take whatever he wishes and offer it up. Here are oxen for the burnt offering, and here are threshing sledges and ox yokes for the wood. Your majesty," Araunah gives all this to the king. Araunah also said to him, "May the Lord your God accept you." But the king replied to Araunah, "No, I insist on paying for it. I will not sacrifice to the Lord my God burnt offerings that cost me nothing." So David bought the threshing floor and the oxen and paid 50 shekels of silver for them. David built an altar to the Lord there and sacrificed burnt offerings and fellowship offerings. Then the Lord answered his prayer in behalf of the land, and the plague on Israel stopped. Okay, here the threshing floor belongs to Araunah the Jebusite, which the next scripture we'll go to will connect it to Mount Moriah. But Mount Moriah is the place where Abraham sacrificed Isaac, right?
Yeah.
Now is the place where David builds an altar for the Lord for burnt offerings and stops the plague on Israel. Okay? Two significant things happen on Mount Moriah.
Okay.
Then, third, and then we're going to stop flipping. Sorry about that.
Let's go.
We are going to go to 2 Chronicles chapter 3.
2 Chronicles 3.
Chapter 3. Then Samuel began to build the temple of the Lord in Jerusalem on Mount Moriah, where the Lord had appeared to his father David. It was on the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite, the place provided by David. He began building on the 2nd day of the 2nd month in the 4th year of his reign.
Okay, so now the temple is built.
So now the temple is built there.
Okay.
All that to say, this rabbit trail that I went on with the Lord is, if you think about the Song of Ascent,
Yep.
these songs are songs that Israelites would sing to their hearts to remind their hearts who they were walking with as they were going up to Jerusalem for festivals to celebrate the Lord. But not only was it in their walk that they were remembering who they walked with, but the very land that they were going to held history and held a reminder of who they were walking with. That land started as a place where God showed himself as provider to Abraham.
Okay.
That land showed itself as God the protector and ended the plague to David. And that land also then ended up being the very place where the people of Israel could come and gather and worship. So the land itself as they were going up this mountain, reminding their hearts, even the
Very
land
cool.
itself was reminding the people who they walk with.
Yeah.
You know, the God of the whole universe, who is so intentional. He could have picked anywhere, you
Right,
know, the
right.
temple could have been built anywhere.
Yeah.
But what a reminder that even the location of where it's built, of the sovereignty of God
Yeah.
and how big he is and how he's in every detail.
Yes.
And I was like, as I was reading that, I was like, wait, that's crazy.
Hold on.
You know, like
Wait a minute.
how deeply connected it all
Yeah,
is, and
yeah,
how
yeah, yeah.
all of it is a reminder of the God that we walked with, you know,
Yeah.
the God that made Jericho walls fall when
yeah,
all they
yeah.
had to do was march around it.
Yeah.
The God who split the seas in half. Like
Yeah.
even the land itself carried so much history of who we are walking with. And I think it's easy to surpass little details like that. You know, I think it's easy even in our day to day to forget who we're walking with. I think it's easy to forget, to pass by the little things. You know, how many times have I quickly read through the building of the temple and quickly
On Mount Moriah. Yeah.
yeah, and quickly read over the fact that it was Mount Moriah,
Right.
missing the significance and how it speaks to the grandeur of our God. And I felt this urgency of I feel like there's so many things in our life that we can look to that will get us, you know, feeling anxious and swirly and take our eyes off of what we're doing and where we are. But how we can miss the little details of God, how we can miss the Mount Moriahs in our life, of how he is so much bigger and he is so much more sovereign and he is so much more, you know, there's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
much more.
yeah.
And I think we can forget that and we can
Yeah,
neglect
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And I felt that same conviction of remember who you're walking with, you know, the God who was intentional about building on Mount Moriah to talk about the history of his provisional nature and how many things happened on that place. Yeah, so I just felt to encourage people to remember who our God is, to remember who we're walking with. You know, I think it can feel so easy to feel victim to your life and feel overwhelmed, which is understandable. But there's a certain level of exhale that came in that reminder of who I'm walking with, you know, like the King of Kings, the sovereign one who takes up the sky, holds the whole world in his hands, who is sovereign and big and omnipotent, but also a man, you know, Jesus of Nazareth, who walks with me, who walks beside me, who's with me at all times. Just because he has made himself a man and walks alongside me does not mean that he's not this big God that can change everything in a snap of a finger, that can bring the provision I need in a snap of a finger, that can fulfill the desires of my heart in a snap of a finger.
Yeah,
You know, just because he is man and he walks
Yeah.
with me
Yeah.
does not take away that he is God and that he is big.
Yeah.
And I felt this conviction to remind our souls who this is who we walk with. Just because he's man doesn't mean he's not as sovereign. So lift your eyes. Where else does our help come from? And I think the Israelites made a good practice of reminding themselves. Sometimes our souls just need reminding.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
when you don't see God in the day to day and you
Right.
feel frustrated and you feel stuck in this
Yeah.
cycle.
Yeah.
I think that the Israelites, they formed a good practice of reminding their souls of who they walk with. And it gave them courage to keep going, and it gave them confidence to keep going, you know? Yeah. Just because he's a man and he walks alongside us, don't forget how big he is,
Yeah.
how grand he is.
Yeah.
How much he's done. These stories are this book is filled with stories of miraculous supernatural things that he can do in a snap of a finger. And I think the lifting of our eyes, that we get so caught up in looking at our lives and what's happening around us, but only if we were to lift our eyes and remember. I'm repeating myself, but that's just what I feel the conviction of the Holy Spirit on right now, to remember.
Israel remembered through the testimonies of what God did, and they're singing these songs of ascent.
Yeah.
And through those songs of ascent, they're singing about what God had done in their history.
Yeah.
God had instructed his people to remember what he had done. And by reflecting on these stories of what God had done in their own lives, in the lives of their ancestors, they're reminding themselves of who God is.
Right.
So when you say that we ought to remember who we are walking with, in the same way that God instructed Israel to remember who they were walking with by keeping the testimonies, remembering all that he did, how he brought them out of Egypt, so on and so forth. Are you suggesting we remember who we walk with through a similar practice of keeping God's testimonies in our own lives, like what he's done?
Yeah.
Or how do I remember you had this encounter, you saw God as this grand, strong, powerful, like it was you, this reality of who God was made manifest to your spirit directly.
Yeah.
And then you saw him in human form in Jesus, right?
Yeah.
Walking beside you.
Yeah.
But for the person that hasn't had that experience, how do they remember who they're walking with?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, less about, yes, I think reminding your heart of the personal testimonies of what God has done in your life is so fruitful. We have recorded a podcast episode even talking about this, of meditating when you need faith to keep going, meditate on what the Lord has done for you in the past and how that can give you so much fuel into continuing. And like you said, he commands the Israelites to do it. There's stones of remembrance as they build an altar to remember for generations of what the Lord has done for them. I think that is so important. But more so in this encounter that I had with the Lord, it was a reminder of, apart from the testimonies, apart from, even if I didn't have personal testimonies of what God did for me, it felt more of a conviction of, remember how big, how powerful, how omnipotent, how strong, how like, it was more so, remember the characteristics of this God that you walk with, right? Like, yes, personal testimonies are important and reflect on those, but like, even as I'm saying this, I'm thinking of crazy stories that happened in the Bible that didn't happen directly to us, but have helped build our faith in the nature of who God is and how he can actually change everything. Like I said, about Jericho, about how Jesus commanding the waves, about Jonah being swallowed by a whale. Like, these are so many stories that I think we've just taken in faith of, like, they're Bible stories and you read them, but actually they speak to the nature of this, like, omnipotent God powerful that we serve. And a God that is on your side. Like, you've said this once, how would you act differently if you had full confidence that the wind was in your sails? And it's kind of the same conviction of, how would you live differently? How would your heart respond differently if you acknowledge that this omnipotent God who put this whole thing in motion, who has the whole world in his hands, who can change everything immediately, is also this man that walks beside you? Realize the access of authority and power and even affection and friendship, like the layers of access that you have to this God that we serve. So less about reflecting on, like, personal testimony, more about reflecting on, don't underestimate our God, like how big he is. Just because right now maybe we're in this season of, maybe you're in waiting, maybe you're frustrated, maybe you're in heartbreak, whatever it is, the season that you're in, there's still this reality that we serve a grand God that holds everything together, and he walks beside us.
You know what that causes me to think of? I was thinking, not yesterday, in the past few days, I was thinking about how we talk about how it's important to acknowledge what God's doing. And how, what I mean by that is, like, you're with God, you're asking him about something or to do something, you're asking him to move, you're asking, maybe, can I see you, can I hear you, can I experience you deeper? You experience something. It could be in the slightest sense, like you experience, like, a sense of peace or whatever. We've talked a lot about how it's important to acknowledge the things that God has done, to pay attention to what he does, and to acknowledge them. And then I wanted to call it, like, I was kind of reflecting on all this with God, and I was thinking about how this is a repeated theme. And I wanted to say something that, like, in my mind as I was processing, I was like, I almost wanted to say something like, the principle of acknowledgement is a principle of the kingdom, is how the kingdom works. But I actually felt God corrected me slightly, and he's almost nudged me, like, yeah, that's true, but there's a higher truth. The principle of acknowledgement is something that ladders up to something else, which is a higher truth. And instead, he said, honor is a principle of the kingdom. And acknowledgement is just one of those things. Okay. So I'm sitting here and I'm kind of reflecting on now the requirement of honor. What does honor require of you? If somebody walks into the room, one of our parents or somebody that we honor, they walk in the room, you acknowledge them, isn't it? You give them your place. We might stand up and let them have our seats. Things like that. Like there are certain, Paul says to give honor to those who honor is due, right? So it makes a certain claim on you. It requires something of you. This subject of remembering or acknowledging the God that you walk with it makes a claim on you. How does it make a claim on you? It makes a claim on you because you see it the way that God talks with Israel. He expects that when Israel shows up in lands where people have been serving foreign gods, that they're not going to behave the way that they did. Sorry, by they, I mean that Israel is not going to behave the way that the previous nation did in that land. He has that requirement of his people. Why does he require that of his people? Why should they honor him in that way? Because they are his people and he is their God, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the requirements of those people are going to be different. You ought to honor God as God rather than honoring these other idols or so on and so forth of the land that were there before you. How did you know? How did you come to know that he is your God? Because you have this history with him. I've showed up to you before. I've demonstrated who I am through these stories, some of the stories that you've mentioned. So these all now make a claim on you. Now, having been my people, you enter into a certain territory or you enter into a certain land, circumstance. You cannot behave how others behaved. That same principle actually applies to us today. I heard somebody say recently, if a certain, let's say a certain trial comes to not one person, just one person, but a community of people. Let me take the pandemic. Okay. A global health crisis shows up on everybody's doorstep. Let's take two individuals as an example. One who follows God and the other that doesn't. Okay. If the one that follows God responds to that circumstance in the same way that the person that does not follow God does, then their faith has no substance. It means nothing. They've behaved just like everybody else has. So there's no bearing. It does not actually affect any change in the way that you live your life. The who you are serving by the affections of your heart and the actions that you do and the things that you say, they all line up with what everybody else is doing. This is the equivalent of Israel showing up in a foreign land and behaving just the same way that they did. But God required honor because they belonged to him and he was their people. And the same is true for us today. So I cannot, as a man that walks lives by God, under God, remains in the Spirit, follows Jesus, the way that I exist and inhabit space, the way that I live, the way that I talk, the things that I think, what I acknowledge, the stuff I pay attention to, all of these things, there's a claim that is made on them. And the claim that is made on them is that there needs to be an acknowledgement of the God that I walk with. Because he has something to say about everything that passes through me. Thoughts, words, actions, everything. And so this principle of acknowledgement is actually the principle of honor. I have to acknowledge and remember the God that I walk with. And I have to honor him as God. Because he, as God, requires acknowledgement from every category of me. And so the way that I behave, everything that flows out from me must acknowledge him. It even says that everything that does not proceed from faith is sin. That's what Paul says. That is, what is that saying? It's saying there has to be, in the origin of everything that comes from me, it has to be rooted in faith. So it's really interesting that God put this on your heart for actually a couple of reasons. One is because I've been reflecting a little bit on this thing of acknowledgement, which is very closely tied with remembering the nature of God. Who is God actually?
Yeah.
And the way that I respond to something, like if there's a circumstance that would elicit fear in me, let's say, or anxiety, let's say I'm in a financial situation that I can't bear, that shows up at my doorstep. There is a claim that God makes on me.
Yes.
Based off of who I know him to be.
Yes.
The way that I respond to that has to be consistent with my knowledge of God, which the Bible and these stories tell me that he is a provider.
Yeah.
So I am required, based off my knowledge of God, to respond to this situation of financial need according to my knowledge of God.
Yeah.
And so my worship, it's either worship or lack of worship in that moment.
Yes.
It is, I see and acknowledge you, God, as Jireh, as you are provider. I acknowledge you as that, or I allow myself to fall into a place of anxiety surrounding the subject.
Yes.
This is the way that we remember. You remember based off of what you know.
Right.
And you'll be judged according to what you know.
Yeah.
Like Paul talks about in Romans. So, there's so much I could get into on this, but
get into it.
Well, I don't want to take this down the path of like responsibility, because that's another thing that comes up for me whenever I talk about this subject. It's like whenever I experience God in a certain way, there's an additional claim that's made on me.
Yes.
With every encounter, there's an additional claim that's made. There's an additional level of responsibility that has been imparted to me as a result of experiencing God in that way.
Right.
Israel would not have been judged as strictly or as strongly as they were post Red Sea. They would not have been held to the same standard if God had not split the sea before them.
Yeah.
But they were held to a certain standard based off of what they saw.
Right.
Jesus in the Gospels calls out Capernaum, I think he calls out Bethsaida, Chorazin, different places that he had visited that had not embraced him and followed him according to what they had, basically the kingdom that he had demonstrated among them. And he said that it would be more difficult for them on Judgment Day. It would be more difficult for those towns that he mentioned on Judgment Day than it would be for Sodom and for Gomorrah. Because he says, had I done these same miracles in Sodom and in Gomorrah, they would have long ago repented in sackcloth and ashes. What did he do just there? He displayed a different standard of judgment based off of what each had experienced. I have to remember who God is and how the measure of God that has been revealed to me.
Yeah.
This is not a casual subject. It's a responsibility.
Right.
God has allowed his light to shine on me in a certain way, and I cannot reject that light.
Yeah.
With each new ray of light that shines on me, it makes a claim on me. Now I must turn, as a flower does, towards that sun and live in the light of this revelation of God which I have received. Otherwise, it would have been better for me to have not received that revelation. Because I will be judged as though I did receive it, because I did.
Right.
But I did not behave as though I received it.
Yeah.
This is why I believe it's so important to be in constant remembrance of who God actually is. Because it's in this that we worship him.
Yeah.
By acknowledging and remembering who he is.
Yeah.
It's not just when you sit and look at him and praise him and you worship him and you these different things that we've been categorized to understand as worship. These are one maybe expression of worship, but worship is my heart being turned entirely towards God.
Right.
It's like everything that passes through me passes through this filter of a vessel which has been directed completely towards God. So everything that comes towards me, it becomes an opportunity to exalt God, especially in the ways that I've seen him. There are other things that I haven't seen about him and ways that I'll be able to better glorify him in the future based off what I see in those ways, right? But in the ways that I have seen him, if things come to me by way of safety, danger, things that would cause me to fear, because I've experienced God as a protector and one who provides for me. There are different things that I've experienced of God. Now these things, these external experiences that would come to me to cause me to fear, pass through this vessel that has been conditioned to trust in God as protector and as provider. So now this external circumstance becomes like food or fuel to the fire which is already burning for God, telling him, yes, you're provider. Yes, you are protector. My heart believes these things, and these external circumstances become almost like this altar, this ground that I can offer a sacrifice up to God. It comes into this furnace and it burns up in this fire that has been created by these experiences of God that I've had, and it burns up this fragrant offering to God because something came to me that should have caused me to fear. But in the past, I experienced him as my protector.
Right.
And so I remembered, oh, wait, God is protector. This thing comes to me, and instead of being thrusted into a place of fear, it actually brings me into this place of worship to say, this thing, like David said, who is this uncircumcised Philistine defiling the armies of the living God? It's that sentiment. That Goliath was an external circumstance that showed up at the doorstep of a man that had experienced God as protector.
Right.
And because he did not forget that God was protector, he remembered who he was. It became fuel for his fire. Now it was this public display of trusting God. It was not a man armed in the most cutting edge technology of shields and swords of the day. He did not show up with confidence because of what he had in himself, but because of what he had experienced in God. So now Goliath became, okay, come into this furnace that burns inside of me for God, because I know that he is a protector and I haven't forgotten that. Now, not only will this become a message to me that he's protector, it's also going to become a message to the whole of Israel. All of Israel can now see and acknowledge that we serve the living God and we are the armies of the living God. This is why it's important to remember. Because then as we walk up to Jerusalem, up these paths that remind us of who God is, and as we sing these songs that remind us of who God is, we get to now live in alignment in accordance with who God is. We are prone to forget. We forget often. They've established practices that keep them from forgetting. So that when these moments come, when their enemies show up seeking to destroy them, they look to God, saying, he has protected me, he has provided for me in the past. Who is it that would come up against this city of God? Now, the image of the people of God is an image of a people unafraid. Not anxious. Because experience by experience, they've been formed into this image of a reflection of the glory of God. With each experience, they're reflecting back to those external circumstances. They're reflecting back, who is this God? So the image of a community or a people of God that has been experiencing God, each facet of God, provider, protector, all these different ways, large, grandiose, strong, whatever. All of these things create a more pure and perfect reflection of the divine nature of God. Okay? You come then and you look into the people of God, and eventually what you see is God. This is why it's important to remember. And this is very interesting that God put this on your heart, because what we'll be talking about next, which I've not talked to you anything about, nor have you talked to me about what you wanted to talk about until we sat here and pressed record. They're very related.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're super related.
Oh, wow.
And so the biggest burden on my heart with this specific subject, though, is I do not want us to be fooled. In the Bible, it says, God will not be mocked. What one reaps, what one sows, that also he will reap. The same thing that you sow, you will reap. If you are somebody that has experienced the living God consistently,
Yeah.
but your life does not reflect that you have been experiencing the living God consistently, there's a problem that has to be solved.
Yeah.
Like, it is not, like, this is a dangerous place to find yourself in.
Yeah.
Because God makes claims upon you with every experience in him that you have. And it's not acceptable for you to be a consumer of God experiences and then not begin to reflect the glory of this same God which you've been experiencing.
Yeah, that's so good.
You yourself are defying God. David said, who is this uncircumcised Philistine that is defying the armies of the living God? You yourself are defying God when you do that. You're saying it is not worth changing the form of who I am in accordance with who you are. I'm going to remain as I am, despite having been given opportunity to be conformed to your image.
Yes.
This is a weighty matter, and experiences with God you often leave them feeling pretty positive, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you should, because God's awesome and he makes you feel awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
even when he convicts you, it feels like you feel good. It feels right.
Yeah.
When he corrects you, you feel loved and moved in the right direction. Like, you ought to come away from experiences with God feeling positive feelings. But if you only walk away from those experiences feeling positive feelings and then neglect to allow those to be brought to bear on the form that you are and the way that you exist before God, you ought to be shaped with every experience.
Yes.
They're not for consumptive purposes.
Right.
They're for transformative purposes. You're supposed to turn into a reflection, clear reflection with every experience that you have. You're not to sit there and just consume them once and again. So if I see you week after week and you look the same as you looked last week and you tell me you had an encounter with God, I'm going to expect that you look a little bit different. Mm-hmm. Unless you mean to say that God is not changing you because he is not powerful enough to change you, or it's not worth being changed into the image of this God that you have been experiencing. Mm-hmm. I need to see that there has been something in you that has been evolving in the direction of God, because by yielding yourself to the transformative power of God in every encounter, you yourself are giving glory to this Christ who you are being conformed to.
Yeah.
What Paul said was that with unveiled faces, we are being transformed into the very image that we're beholding. From one degree of glory to the next. So you're sitting there and you're experiencing God. Not to consume these experiences or have something nice to write about in your journal.
Yeah.
You're experiencing these things so that you would be conformed into the very image of the one that you're beholding.
Right.
Now, will you sit there and say, it is better for me to remain as I am than to be conformed into the glorious image of the one that I'm beholding? You know, you will not say that. That's not right for you to say that.
Right.
And you will be corrected strictly by God for having done that. You will receive your reward either today or tomorrow based off of that behavior. And you should not be doing that. You will be responsible according to what you've observed in God. What you have seen makes claims on you.
Yes.
So you cannot just see, experience, consume, forget.
Yeah.
You do have to remember, and you have to yield to the transformative power with every experience in God.
Yes.
And part of that is walking up the same mountain again and again, year after year, festival after festival, singing the songs of what God has done and bringing yourself back into what he did.
Right. Right.
Remember what he did, because what he did requires something of you.
Yes.
It's not a nice little story you get to write about.
Yeah.
Because every time God judges, not every time, but many of the time God judges Israel in this book, he judges them based off of what they saw. Specifically the way that he delivered them from Egypt. He brings that up to them regularly.
Yeah.
So this issue of remembering is not a light matter.
Yeah.
Remembering the God that you walk with is required of you with every experience that you have. There's increasing expectation that you remember.
Yes.
You have to remember.
Yes. Yeah. And just like you said about about David, there's something that happens when you've allowed every encounter with the living God to shape your heart and change you.
Yeah.
You view your life differently.
Yeah.
The Israelites saw Goliath and were afraid.
Yeah.
The Israelites saw Goliath, they backed up. They were letting him mock the Lord.
Right.
They weren't doing anything. They were just camped there because they were afraid.
Right.
David came with all of these experiences that he had built up of the nature of God.
Yeah.
And he saw Goliath and he said, this is nothing.
Yeah.
He killed the guy with a stone, you know, like
Yeah.
he had developed this understanding of the nature of God because of the encounters that he had with him, that he saw matters of his life differently because he remembered the God that he walked with. Things that seemed problematic to the natural eye were nothing to him.
Yep. This is what was required of David.
Yeah.
He had to be that way.
Yeah.
God expected that of David. Because he showed up when he was against the bear, when he was fighting the bear.
Yeah.
God showed up. When he was fighting the lion, God showed up. So he shows up with Goliath, not a wild beast, an animal, you know, that could tear him apart. Mm-hmm. But I mean, he could have torn him apart in other ways.
Right.
But it wasn't a lion. So God required something of him. You have to respond in a certain way, David. Yeah. Because you've seen God in a certain way. So that all these other people that have not seen God in a certain way can remember who is it that they serve.
Yes.
We serve the same God.
Yes.
They did not have the same experience as you had. You did. So you will be held to a certain... It could be that God may not have judged Israel for their fear of God. Maybe. I mean, they saw stuff too. Mm-hmm. Israel saw stuff too. But David personally saw stuff, and there was a certain level of responsibility that was associated with that seeing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a must.
Yeah. Yeah.
Remembering is a must.
Yeah, it's so important. Even though he's a man that walks alongside us, there's layers to him. Yeah. There is so much. Yeah. And if you allow his countenance to change yours, you will look at your life differently. Yeah. Circumstances that seem big and seem overwhelming and seem like there's no end or no victory in sight seem minuscule.
Right.
They're just little pebbles on your path.
Yeah.
Because you've allowed the God that you walk with to change your inner workings and change the way that you look at him. Yeah. And it kind of like straightens your back a little bit. Yeah. Like in this realization of who walks alongside you, kind of makes you, it gives you courage to stand up taller and face Goliath and, you know, look at circumstances as your life as something that will not overtake you because of the God that you walk with.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I think a really helpful analogy in this is, maybe we've used this analogy before. I can't remember. But the analogy of the way that sunlight or light causes you to behave. Mm-hmm. Okay? Because you have the privilege of the sun shining down on you, you knew when you walked into this room where to sit. You knew where your Bible was. You could pick it up, put it in your hands. You knew which way was up, which way was upside down, which way was right side up. Mm-hmm. You knew how to set up the mics and different stands and the computers and so on and so forth. All of this happened because the way that the light was shining in. What does that mean? We have this saying in English, in light of. Mm-hmm. You do such and such in light of. Because light shines in the room in a certain way, your behavior is in light of what you see. Yeah. Isn't it? Yeah. It's the same way with life. Life with God is the same way. Replace the sun with God. The things that you walk through and experience on earth and the way that you behave, the way that you exist must be in light of God. Everything has to be in light of God. Yeah. When I walk into a room, if I'm prone to feel social anxiety in a room, what is my experience of walking into that room in light of God? What does God have to say about me? Mm-hmm. What does God have to say about how he feels about me? Mm-hmm. If I'm interacting with somebody else in that room, what does it mean for me to be interacting with them in light of God? What does God say to be true about them? In this way, you give honor to God. You give glory to God. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like, you're not just paying him lip service.
Right.
It's like you are shining in, you being the light are shining in, and in your light, I will see.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I choose to operate based off of the light that you shine in with versus the things that I may come in with my own way of thinking and my own way of responding naturally to different circumstances. I must first operate from the light that you shine in to that room, that social setting, whatever, this room. All this can be boiled down to our lives ought to be in response to God in everything. Because you're saying he's big. So he has something to say about every circumstance.
Right.
So my life should be lived in response to this big God.
Yeah.
Who has something to say about everything.
Yeah.
That is the life of worship, in my opinion. That's how I define worship.
Yeah.
Living in response to God.
Right.
Sometimes that response is song. As you ascend up the hill, reminding yourself of what God's doing.
Yeah.
Or what he's done.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the way that you respond to thoughts. Oh my goodness. I could keep on going and going and going and going. And this is getting me fired up.
Yeah, you were buzzing. I love when you start getting fired up. When you're hitting the chair, I can tell you're feeling it when you're like this and you're hitting the chair.
Yeah, goodness me. I could just keep on going on this. And honestly, I would love to. I would love to just keep on going because like we're my goodness, it's a shell. What we're living is a shell. It's a shell. To say that you worship God and show up on Sundays, it's a shell. To give lip service, to say I believe in God, it's a shell. All these things, they're shells. They're mere shells. They're like it is to love the Lord your God with all your heart.
Yeah.
With all your soul, mind, will, and emotions.
Yeah.
With all your might, with all of your strength. He said all before each of those things. All. I think it's the California poppy seed.
What?
No, there's a certain flower in California. And I don't know. I don't remember the name of I don't think it's poppy seed. I don't know if that's the name of a flower or what. There is a certain flower in California, and I actually think it's their like state flower. And that flower is really, really cool because every day when the sun goes down, its petals close. And then the sun rises, and their petals open. And then the sun goes and it goes and it goes and it goes through the sky, and then they close. And then it rises, and the petals open in accordance to the fact that the sun is now rising. And so their petals open. And again they do the same thing, living their lives in response to the light of the sun.
Yeah.
Living our lives in the light of the Son of God is the responsibility of the person that says, I belong to God.
Yeah.
It is lip service to say that you belong to God. But at least to not be moving, at least moving in the direction of the whole of your life, thoughts, emotions, all of your strength. I mean, it is a completely consumptive. Every action is in response to the reality of God.
Yeah.
What is real? What is true about God? And because this is true about him, I am this way. Because the sun is up, my petals are out. The sun is down, my petals are closed. That flower lives in response to the sun constantly.
Yeah.
And it's a small example through a created thing on the earth, which signals to us that we, these dynamic, beautifully, like fearfully and wonderfully made beings, which are called the offspring of God, can live in response to an infinite and eternal God. And eventually what we find ourselves doing is we find ourselves in if we had a sheet, not a sheet of paper, but like a bed sheet in here, or a cloth or some sort of fabric, and I held it up like this, and then you grabbed the other ends and we held them up like, I had, one corner and the second corner, you had the third and the fourth corner, and I rippled it. I did like a wave through it. Okay, the wave would start on my end and it would move to yours, right? And it is certain that the wave would reach your side, and it would be a natural movement for the wave which started on my end to rip through the entire cloth and make its way over to your side. In one movement, it would go from up on my end and down on your end to down on my end and up on your end, and it would like just it. As one object, one form, be moving in unison. It's the same way as you're in God and you're growing in Him. It's like you find yourself almost as this extension of God. One wave, and starts with Him, and it begins and it rips through you and it blows through you. And of course, it would have blown through you because like you're connected to this God. And honestly, like we've spent some time talking about these claims of God. The claims that God makes on us based off of our experiences of Him, and how that causes us to respond to like
life circumstances,
hard circumstances, like external things. Okay. Yes, that's an element of it, because we live in a world that responds not to God, but responds to the kingdom of this world. And so they're doing just as we're doing our cloth, the way that we move and our dance, we're doing our dance, we're looking to do our dance, synchronized with a holy God. They're doing their dance, responding constantly to the kingdom of this world. So of course, like as you step into, certain circumstances, people might be surprised by the way that you would respond to a fearful situation with complete confidence. And that's a good way to illustrate what it means to be living in this place of constant remembrance of who God is, and living in response to Him at all times and in everything. That's an example of it, because it's a pretty like stark place.
Yeah.
But it also has a creative power on its own. Like, it's not just you don't respond to bad situations badly. It's like you yourself are a wellspring of life. You become like this fountain of life. And from your innermost being come rivers of living water. And you are like this thing, just as God spoke and the earth was created. There's this creative power that comes then out of you as you live in this synchronized place, this place of life with the source of life.
Yeah.
And so part of the reason this gets me fired up is because the life that is synchronized with God, the life that lives in response to the reality of God in every way, that loves Him with all this, all that, all the things that it says, that life puts to shame and makes the life that is giving lip service to saying I believe God, it makes it look like that's not even worth using those words. It makes it like, why even waste my time trying to convince myself that I live for God and I follow God. We have to be moving in the direction of everything that flows forth from us lives in response to Him.
Yeah.
If it doesn't make sense in the light of God, it should not come forth from me.
Yeah.
Anxiety does not make sense in light of God. It shouldn't come from me. Fear doesn't make sense in light of God. It should not come from me. Self-hatred, condemnation, all of these things, these things, they don't exist in the light of God.
Mm-hmm.
So they should not come forth from me. And it's not right for me to say, oh, I experienced God. He's provider. And then tomorrow, doubt his provision.
Hmm. Yeah.
Last thing I'll say. James describes, James spends some time talking about faith without works.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the one that is, he's big on faith without works is dead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's James. James describes the one who believes, has faith, but no works,
Mm-hmm.
as the man that stares intently in a mirror. Stands and looks intently in a mirror. And then walks away from the mirror and instantly forget what he looks like.
Mm-hmm.
That's how James describes the man with faith that does not have works.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the words that he uses there to describe faith without works, his analogy of choice
Mm-hmm.
in this case makes so much sense to me.
Yeah.
Because he's talking about image. He's talking about where do you go to find out what you look like?
Yeah.
You know those movies where there's like a people swap and like one person becomes another person, find
Like
themselves in
Freaky
the
Friday.
body of another
Yeah.
person. Where do they find out who they are? They go to the mirror.
Yeah.
And that's where they have the scream moment, the like seeing the mirror, like I'm not myself, whatever.
Yeah.
That's where they go to find out who they are. Interesting that James uses the analogy of the mirror to describe the man with faith, but no works.
Hmm.
You look in the mirror intently and then walk away and forget what you're like. You look at God and you experience who he is,
Mm-hmm.
that he's provider, and then you walk away and you fear
Yeah.
when you are in a moment of need for provision.
Yeah.
In his words, faith without works, dead.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop. That's the end of that.
Don't stop. Pray for us. You're fired up. Pray.
God, help us. And even as I speak, God, I feel responsibility. I feel personal responsibility. I ask that you would help me. As somebody that has experienced you, I know that I'm responsible and I want to live in accordance to your glory. You are a glorious God.
Mm.
And because you are glorious, you are due a follower, a lover, a son, children that live in accordance with your glory. So God, I ask you that our lives would reflect your glory.
Yes, God.
I ask you that our lives would demonstrate that we are walking with a God who is who he says he is.
Yeah.
And as those who have been privileged to walk with you and to experience you and to know you, I ask you that you would cause our lives to bear witness to what we've experienced in you,
Mm-hmm.
to bear witness to our encounters. Help us to not be consumptive in the way that we live with you and draw near to you. Let us not be consumptive in our day after day, week after week encounters, but let us, like Paul says, be conformed into the same image of the one that we're beholding so that you would receive your glory. I ask that you would build in us people who are never afraid.
Yes.
I ask you that you would cause us to be people who extend love and mercy,
Yeah.
and steadfast love and mercy. Allow our attributes to reflect yours and what we've seen in you. Cause us to never forget what you're like.
Yes, God.
And through constant experiences with you in ways that we remind ourselves of who you actually are, make our lives a reflection of you. Because you're worth this and way more.
Yes.
We love you so much.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
I love when you buzz. That was great. That was fantastic.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I just went crazy there.
No, why are you apologizing? I loved it.
I went crazy.
It was anointed. It was good. Because there's a theme of me always connecting a song to this. There is a song for this.
No, it has to be.
It says, "Oh my soul, remember who you're talking to." The "Oh my soul, remember who you're talking to." The only one who death bows to. That's the God who walks with you. It's a fire song.
Oh my god!
It's a fire song.
That gave me chills.
It's called "Remember" by the Torwaltz. It's so good.
Oh my word!
I encourage you to go listen to it,
dude.
Remember who you're talking to.
I felt that one.
Yeah, we love you guys, and yeah,
see you soon.
We'll see you soon on season 2. See you on the first episode, season 2.
See you when I'm 30.
Bye.